Around the Ozarks is now on your FM radio. Listen to Around the Ozarks mornings with Grace Gooley as I spotlight local people, stories, and podcasts, all while playing the country legends of the 90s and the hit makers of the 2000s. It's on the Ozarks' best country, 105.1 The Bull. It's time for Around the Ozarks sports scene, brought to you by Colton's Steakhouse, Thompson Sales, and Deadeye Gun and Pawn in Sparta. Here's your host, Scott Purrier.
Welcome into another edition of Around the Ozarks sports scene. I am Scott Purrier. As always, big thank you to you, the viewer and listener, for tuning in as we talk sports in the Ozarks and beyond. And special guest, we're kind of going down memory lane today with Steve Warren, the former Springfield Kickapoo High School standout, star on the Nebraska great defensive lines in the late 90s, and spent some pro time with the Green Bay Packers. Welcome in, Steve.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You betcha. Always fun to catch up and talk about the good old days. And, of course, you were back in town last week for the announcement coming up in late September of the Springfield Area Sports Hall of Fame induction class. So congratulations on that honor.
Yeah, thank you, and congratulations to you as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and it's special to you. It's special to me. But to me, it's looking around that room and seeing guys like yourself. And, Jason Hart couldn't be there because he's coaching in pro baseball. But, Ann Cook, same thing, couldn't be there. She's at Penn State. But just people that I was around a lot that gave me things to write about and talk about. And that made it special going in with people like yourself. And, my favorite story, Steve Warren, we told it a little bit there, but draft party and after your Nebraska career was over, NFL draft coming up, and we knew you could go anywhere from late first round to fourth or fifth, and you got nervous and antsy because we got into the second round and nobody called. I was loving every minute of it because the Warren family makes great barbecue. And your garage was a barbecue palace that day. That made it a lot of fun there. But I think you left and went to Best
Buy.
Buy.
Can you hear me? I lost you for a second. Hold on one second.
Yeah, I lost your picture, but still got audio with you. You actually got fed up with the process and went to Best Buy and spent some money, I think, at one point that day. But
I had a bunch of friends in town, so I got tired of sitting around, and we went to Best Buy and bought a few things. I think we bought a stereo so we could have some better music to drown out the anxiety.
Absolutely, yeah. So what does the Springfield Area Sports Hall of Fame induction mean to you?
Oh man, it means so much. I think I mentioned this to a few people at the event. Just being able to go into the Hall of Fame with my parents, still able to be around and to see it. It's probably the most special part for me. I like so many people kept saying, well, it was about time, and you waited so long, and then you get into that room and you realize there's people that have waited way longer than you. So it's just a blessing, and I'm honored and humbled to be able to go in with great people like yourselves, and you mentioned Hart and Ann Cook and some of the other coaches in there, and I'm just excited for it, and I'm excited for my family.
Well, let's catch up with Steve Warren. Of course, you've been in after you left the University of Nebraska, a great career there, All-American for the Huskers on some great defensive units. You got into pro football and you have wound up back in the Nebraska area. Your Warren Academy has been going for years. Kind of talk about the mission with Warren Academy and what you guys do.
Yeah, so Warren Academy, it's all about helping athletes with their athletic development, whether that's soccer or football are our two main sports. We're partnered with a pretty large soccer club here in Omaha called Sporting Nebraska. So we share the facility with them. So we train all of their top level soccer athletes and their developing athletes. And then we have all of the, the top level football players coming in from around the state and parts of Iowa and South Dakota. And so it's all about development all around, just athletic performance, getting kids faster, getting them quicker, more flexible, being able to move better. So it's just 100% development.
And you started that when, roughly?
So we started the organization Dream, which is the nonprofit that it all started underneath 20 years ago now. So I've been doing this for now 20 years with either after school programs or mentoring or the athletic development side.
And of course, you've been giving back to your community here in Springfield with from the field to the court, the event that you and your buddy Anthony Tolliver, another fellow Kickapoo grad, former NBA player, put on a free clinic here in the Ozarks. That's been an early June, mid June type event. You said it's going to be a little bit later this year.
Yeah, so we're looking at late July. Both Tolliver and I, our schedules, we're like two shifts passing in the night right now, so we're trying to get things figured out. Most of it's on me. I've got a son that's a pretty high level quarterback, and I think we'll talk about that later. So June is pretty booked up for us this year with travel and different events that he's got to go to. So we're looking late July right now, maybe early August, before school gets back in session.
Well, let's talk about him now. Your son Braylon Warren is a quarterback. He's a good sized quarterback at 6'2", almost 210. Gave a verbal commitment to the University of Missouri and Eli Drinkowitz. What was it about Mizzou that was appealing to him to make that early commitment? And I assume is he still taking
I
some
think
visits to see some other places?
No, we're actually committed to Mizzou. We haven't taken any other visits. People are calling and coming in every day, and we still have coaches coming in to see him and try to sway him. But the biggest thing was for him was, Coach Drinkowitz, the culture, um, just being comfortable with that staff. After he committed, we did have, they did have the change where, Coach Moore and Coach Gleason moved on, and so then Coach Riley and Coach Lindsey came in, so we had to spend a little time getting to know them. But I think he's enjoyed those guys. I know he has, and so it's been a good transition from them with him. So it was really the culture, the fit now, and I think he's going to enjoy the offense that they're going to run this year with Coach Lindsey.
Hard to see a Nebraska guy okaying his son going to Mizzou because back in the day, they were a rival for you guys. It wasn't much of a rivalry. They weren't very good, but was that something that did Nebraska show an interest?
Early on, but we didn't get a lot back from them, like we probably felt we should have. So we didn't go to camp there or anything after his sophomore year. We decided to, focus on people that were focusing a little bit more on him, and they had kind of narrowed in on a kid that they really liked, and we decided that we were just going to kind of move on and see what happened there. So he had a lot of other schools that were showing a lot more interest, and so we focused on the people that were focusing on us.
Describe Braylon's style. Is he a run pass combination, a stronger passer? Tell us about his skill set for Omaha West, and before that, when did you kind of see that this kid could be special and be a Power Four level quarterback?
Probably around we've had a number of good quarterbacks come out of our academy in the last 5 or 6 years. We've had including Braylon now, 4 out of the last 5 years, we've had an Elite 11 finalist,
Wow.
which is the top 20 quarterbacks, around the nation that compete in that event. So Braylon got chosen this year, so we leave next week. But I think around the eighth grade, we kind of knew that he was going to be pretty special if he kept developing. And he's an elite level passer. He's a very capable runner. He runs about a 4.8 electronic, which is about a 4.6 handheld. So he's a good runner, but his biggest attribute is definitely his arm and his accuracy. He's got really good arm strength and phenomenal accuracy. So he's just a really poised kid in the pocket. He's been around the game a lot, so he's one of those kids that's never too high, never too low, and just a really good, solid guy all around in the locker room.
Now I've got to assume that there's somebody at the Warren Academy that works with him that didn't spend their career chasing quarterbacks. Somebody that
Right.
was a quarterback. Is
Right.
that accurate?
Yeah. John Taglin is our quarterback coach, and he's done a great job with all of our quarterbacks over the last few years. He's a former quarterback himself. He played at University of Nebraska, Omaha, UNO. He was actually on that team when they canceled the program. He was the starting quarterback. So he's been with us now almost 10 years, I think it is now. So he's done a really good job developing our quarterbacks, and my son's had the privilege of being around him, and then we've got 3 or 4 other guys on the staff that are really good developers and teachers of the game. So he's been fortunate to be around some really good teachers.
I think it's such an interesting dynamic that I wanted to talk to you about. That you went through the recruiting process with the high level programs back in the mid '90s.
Yeah.
And there was no internet, there was no social media, there was no NIL, at least legal NIL. I'm sure there was illegal NIL back then, and no transfer portal to speak of. Now you're seeing all this with your son. How different is it, and how tough is it now for kids to make that decision with all those factors in play?
It's difficult because the landscape's forever changing, and fortunately or unfortunately, the financial piece is a part of it now, and so you have to keep that in the back of your mind. For us, we went through the process of finding the right fit, the right culture before we really even engaged on any talks about the money or what that would look like financially. We left that until we were kind of down to our last, few people, last few groups. So it wasn't a huge factor for us because for us it was about football first.
Was there, if Steve Warren had lived in this era, you probably just would have wanted a food deal somewhere, right? I mean, maybe a little cash, but I remember talking to Grant Wisham. There was I think it was a burger place or something up there in Lincoln that he was really fond of. He said, "Just give me that," and I'd been good for 4 years. Um, would it have been fun to kind of be experiencing the same thing as Braylon is now, or is it kind of just make it even that much tougher to make a decision?
It definitely would have been good. I was talking with a friend of mine. I think you met him. He was in town, Jamel Williams, and we were telling my son, he was a linebacker at Nebraska, and we were telling my son and his friends the other day that, after our scholarships checks and we paid our rent, we had like $30 left for the month to kind of live off of. That was what it was. So these kids definitely don't have that experience. His son is at Penn State, so he's a freshman this year at Penn State, so he's experiencing the same thing. So we had the boys around and explaining to them the difference of how lucky they are for what they have. It definitely does make things more difficult because just like pro sports now, the boosters and the money comes into play a lot with the politics on kids and recruiting and who they're trying to recruit and which kids are going to play kind of early, which kids are going to get a more of a chance to be developed because the money matters. If you're spending a decent chunk on a kid, you need him to paying out just like pro sports. So they'll get a few more chances than the kids that aren't getting as much. But hopefully, that it still remains, part of the college game of, developing players and making sure we're trying to get to the next level. We always tell our kids from the academy, NIL is good, but NFL is better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the real NIL when you get to the NFL, and if you can
Right.
carve that out, and we'll kind of go phase by phase here, but just an outstanding career at Kickapoo High School on some great Kickapoo teams back in the mid '90s. You graduated in '96, I believe, from the Chiefs program.
Hmm.
Was that Coach Byrne or was that Coach Pearson at the end?
That was Coach Byrne.
Coach Byrne the entire time, and kind of talk about those days. That was a special group. Who were some of the guys that in your mind really stood out and made you guys as good as you were?
Oh, I mean, we had a really good senior class. I'm still pretty close with all those guys that are around. Some of the legacy guys like the Delosiers in the fields, those guys that had brothers along with mine that played at Kickapoo and cousins, and Kevin Chisholm, who's now a college coach, at the Division II level. Jeff McCracken, who went on to play at Iowa. Ryan Helming, who went on to play at Northern Iowa and spent a little time in the NFL. And Dave Puckett. We had a good group. Brad Dillinger, really tough fullback, and just some young guys that helped keep the thing rolling. So really special group. We were all really close and still pretty close today. And the difference now, I think Springfield's experiencing it now is I know Omaha is like kids. It doesn't matter where you grow up now. You go to school in different areas. And so
Yeah.
for us, we were fortunate that we all kind of grew up in the same neighborhoods and played on the same teams, youth teams, same middle school teams and on through high school. And it made a big difference for us as we got into our senior year.
When did you figure out you could be pretty good at football? What age was that?
I think I was pretty young. I played up, really my second and third and fourth grade years. I played up a little bit above my age group. Part of it because I had to, because I was so much bigger than some of the other kids that some of the parents kind of raised a little bit of ruckus about how hard I was hitting their kids. So they had to move me up in the old Mighty Might systems for a year or two till, I couldn't move up anymore, basically. So early on, I kind of knew, but I was fortunate enough to grow up as the youngest kid in the family, pretty much among all my cousins and my brothers and sisters. So I took some beatings growing up that helped me become a pretty good football player and pretty tough.
And you guys, that senior year, was that Jeff City? Who ended it for you there?
I was actually Blue Spring South in the semifinals in the Final Four. So we beat Jeff City in the quarterfinals to make it to the Final Four.
When Nebraska came calling at the time, people look at Nebraska now, they don't understand unless they're football, diehards or traditionalists, that Nebraska in the mid '90s was the place, especially if you were a defensive guy with the black shirts. And, of course, we had Grant Wistrom go up there from this area and do great things.
Yeah.
When they started reaching out to you, was that pretty much a no brainer at that point that I'm going to be a Husker?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Osborne was at my house 3 days or so after they beat Florida in the championship game, and so it's hard to say no to a legendary coach, first of all, and then a legendary coach who just, you know, 2 years in a row probably had the best team, not had did have the best team in the country, and arguably the 94-95 team was the best team in college football history. So it's hard to say no to that when they're walking to your door and asking you to be a part of it. And for me, like I was fortunate enough through middle school and high school to be on some winning teams. And winning was important to me, so I wanted to go somewhere where winning was a part of the culture.
What was different about Nebraska when you got up there? I mean, we had Jackson Cantwell on the radio a couple weeks ago. He was talking about, going from Nixa High School to the U, and walking in there with grown
Yeah.
men, and he did it as a semester of his senior year as a 17-year-old. What do you remember most about your first experiences walking into the Huskers program and the locker room and facilities and all that? What felt so different about it?
My first experience walking into the building, like the very first two people I met, were Lawrence Phillips and Clinton Childs. So if you know anything about Nebraska football history, two of the toughest, the strongest, fastest running backs to ever play at the university, and they were some big, scary dudes. And the first thing they did though was embrace me, and tell me welcome, and encourage me to come to Nebraska. So, and then Charlie McBride was the defensive coordinator. So the thing I think that impressed me most, which is probably opposite than a lot of people, is this Coach McBride was very real with me. When we first talked about what he thought I could be, and things. More importantly, the things that he thought I needed to work on, and where I needed to get better at. And a lot of times in recruiting, people are just patting you on the back and telling you how great you are. And it was kind of the polar opposite of him telling me, like, if you want to be a part of this, when you come here, you're going to have to do this, this, and this, and this is what I see you need to work on. And I appreciated that because I knew it was a real conversation, and I just wanted to be a part of that winning culture. So it was something that was a little intimidating at first, just because you're coming from a high school into a setting where, this group's the, perennial national champions, and you've got some legends walking around like Winstrom and the Peters, and, like I mentioned, Lawrence Phillips, and then like the Jay Foremans, the younger guys, and Mike Ruckers, and all these guys that go on and play in the NFL and have great careers. And that was the type of culture it was. It was guys that you knew were going to go play on Sunday. So you knew when you got there, you had to have your stuff together.
Now, did you and Grant have 1 year on the same roster or not?
Two.
Two.
Two,
Okay.
2 years on the same roster. So my freshman year in '96, and then the 96, and then my sophomore year, which would have been his senior year.
And did you redshirt that freshman year?
I did not. I did not redshirt. So no, I was on the travel team and played and lettered that freshman year. So I was a 4-year letterman. 4 years playing, 4 years letterman there. I didn't. Unfortunately, I wish I would have redshirted, to tell you the truth, but it just wasn't in the cards for me. They asked me. They didn't really even ask me to play, to tell you the truth. Coach McBride told me to get on the field, and I listened.
Yeah.
So, but
Out
it
there.
worked out for me.
Um,
Yeah, it
what,
worked for me.
when you look back now, what was it about Tom Osborne that makes him such a legend? Why was he so great?
I think the thing about Coach Osborne is, which I've actually, as I gotten older, I've come to realize about how important it is to surround yourself with the right people, with people that can do their job at a high level, that you can depend on, that you don't have to micromanage. And I think the thing about Coach Osborne is he had a vision for where people should be and can be, and what their ceiling was. So I think he was very good at putting the pieces together. And he was just a great, tremendous leader, somebody that you knew when he spoke. You didn't have to guess whether he was telling the truth or not, or if it was coming from a different place or a different agenda. Very transparent, very upfront, very honest. And I think, those qualities carried tremendous weight in our locker room, because we knew when he said something, he meant it. And when he said he would do something or he would fight for you, that's exactly what he did. So it wasn't hard to fight for him. And then he set that culture again with all the coaches and the people he surrounded himself with. Those were his expectations for the coaches. So we just had a really good staff of men who were good at pouring in to young men and developing us.
I was about to laugh just under my breath about the story that I guess the legendary status that Tom Osborne had continues today, even in that area. And Grant would tell a story about living across the street from him, and Grant's big dog got a hold of Coach Osborne's little dog and had him in his mouth or something, and Grant was just fearful that it was going to ruin his reputation in Coach Osborne's eyes, over a dog thing like that. But the guy still carries that status. I guess my question, and a lot of people would say, why hasn't Nebraska been able to get back to that level since the Osborne days?
I think it's a number of reasons. One, the college football landscape has changed so much. We had a big advantage earlier on when we first, were in the Big 12. The TV contracts and the facilities, the amount of money that Nebraska was able to generate, the stadium. We had some advantages that a lot of teams didn't have. Now everybody's got good facilities. Everybody's got money now. Everybody's on TV. Like there's all that stuff's kind of a wash. So I think the things that we had the advantage of, we don't anymore. Two, it's just there's not too many Coach Osbornes and Coach McBrides out there, right? They're they're a dime a dozen, right? They're not a dime a dozen. I mean, there's so many of them, so many coaches that have come through that have tried to replicate or try to put their own spin on it. But those guys really just understood, and they were there for so long. They had the chance to really build something. Now these coaches, they don't have as much time as college coaches as they did before, and rightfully so. If you got 29-30 million dollars to spend on a roster, um, you better figure it out. You better figure it out, because that's a lot of money to be spending on college football players not to win. So I think now that's the biggest thing now, is that the money has come into play. Um, but again, Indiana didn't have that to spend, and they got it done. So there is still the element of, can you coach or can you not coach? Can you develop? Can you get guys to buy in and follow you? And there's tremendous leaders that are able to do that, and there's guys that are not. It's yet to be seen with what Coach Rule is trying to do in Nebraska. He's moved the needle. We're back to playing in bowl games, but now we've got to move the needle even further now these next couple years, and get to where we're really, really relevant in the college football landscape. And unfortunately, for the past 10 plus years, we haven't been that relevant. as a football program. So hopefully we can get back to it.
Third round draft pick, Green Bay Packers, after your great Nebraska career. NFL, I know you battled some injuries and that set you back. When you look back on it, is there any question that your college days were a lot more fun and enjoyable than the NFL? Kind of describe what the NFL was like for those 3 seasons.
The NFL for me for those 3 seasons was very tough because it started out really good. I was I was with the ones and with the twos. I was playing starter minutes. Was starting on the third down unit. Was in the game 60-70% of the time on first and second down as the games went on, as the season went on. And then week 12, 13 there, I tear my quad off my kneecap my rookie year, and it changed everything. So for me, at those next 2 or 3 years that I was a part of the NFL, because there is actually a fourth year I was a part, that I got released in, that I still kind of get credited for that season. It was about really holding on. I knew I was never going to be the same player or have the same explosiveness. So it was at that point, how much longer can I stay to get my pension and to get my accredited seasons and get vested. And fortunately enough, I was able to do that. So I'm a fully vested NFL alumni, and I'll get a pension here whenever I decide to use it in the next 10 or plus years. So that it's been a blessing. It really helped me get ahead in life, and it taught me a lot of valuable lessons. But because of the injury, it wasn't the most enjoyable time for me because I spent a lot of time in the training room those next few years. I did get back to playing kind of that last season, and we were in the playoffs. We were on the team that lost to Michael Vick at Green Bay. So I was able to see some success getting back, but just was never quite the same player. But made a lot of great friendships, and like I said, it set me up pretty good in life. As far as getting things set in stone for me financially, and getting something for my family put in place.
Well, and we talk about what a great player you were, but great person. I mean, you've always been about giving back to the community, whether it's here or up in the Omaha, Lincoln area. It's been a staple for you, and now I think with kids today and all the things that are being dangled out in front of them, all the social media. I would guess with your Warren Academy, it's pretty valuable to be able to tell those kids, hey, I was in your position, and how to stay grounded in those situations.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's kind of funny. A lot of the kids, um, I don't know if I've done a good job or a bad job in my role. A lot of the kids, they kind of find out later that I even played in the NFL. And so then they have a lot of questions. But we have a lot of NFL guys around us now from this area. Like we've got 10 from the academy. So I think for me, that's the best part is my experience in the NFL and my connection still I'm still pretty connected with coaches and some scouts, and then from the college and the NFL level, and a few of my friends are NFL coaches, so I'm a trainer. So it's good for me to be able to speak to our kids that are going to college and then going from college to the pros, to be able to connect them with different resources, whether it's coaches or scouts or having different people look out for them, or financial advisors or agents. My experience has been able to help me help other people. And I think, that's been the biggest benefit of my time in the NFL, is it prepared me for what I'm doing today. And so much of my experience then is relevant now today, and what some of these kids are going through themselves.
Very good. Well, Steve, we certainly appreciate your time. Again, congrats. And when you guys, when you and Anthony find out the dates for your camp down here, let's be sure to get that out here. Come back on with us, and two poos there, the former Kickapoo athletes. You guys stay in touch quite a bit, you and Anthony.
Yeah, yeah. So I talked to Anthony just the other day. Like I said, we're kind of both all over the place. He's a busy dude. I'm a busy dude. So we'll get things figured out. But again,
Very
another
good.
great person. So it's been good.
You bet. Steve, thanks again, and appreciate your time, and look forward to seeing you again this fall whenever the Hall of Fame ceremony comes around. Thank you.
All right, thank God. Congratulations again to you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Steve Warren, so I apologize for the little audio difficulty there at the end, but just a great human being and a kid that was raised right. I've known his parents and great people. Used to work with his mom at the News Leader for many years, and they're just salt of the earth. They raised a good one there as well too. So big thank you to our sponsors. First Thompson Sales, located at 1555 East Independence in South Springfield. Thompson Boys have been in business since 1919. They're your home for the largest selection of Cadillac, Buick, and GMC cars and trucks. Great selection of new and used vehicles, and they've got a tremendous service department to take care of your vehicle from start to finish until you're ready to trade it back in again and get a new one. It's all Thompson Sales. I've been a customer since the early 1980s when I got to town, and the main reason is they're going to treat you like family, and they always have and they always will because the Thompson Boys have been dealing since 1919. Big thanks to Colton Steakhouse of Springfield, located 2020 East Independence, just down the street from Thompson's. Great plan is to go car shopping, buy a new vehicle, and then go celebrate at Colton's because you're going to have a great steak, whether it's lunch or dinner. The barbecue's tremendous. The burgers, they got the best burger in town, their Montana burger. It's all good stuff at Colton Steakhouse. Go see owner Thomas Orr and his folks there at Colton's, 2020 East Independence in Springfield. And finally, Deadeye Gun in Sparta. You've got hunting plans coming up. You just need a personal protection weapon around the house. Go see Jonathan and his team at Deadeye Gun. They're located at 7483 Main Street in Sparta. You can also visit deadeyegunsupply.com. Check out their selection of pistols, rifles, ammunition, accessories. They've got it all at Deadeye Gun. That's going to be our sponsors for this week and every week. We appreciate them. And we will see you next week when we talk sports again here on Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. We'll see you then.